Coming up on Tech News Today, Windows 8 to come in only three flavors. The trial of two Larrys begins. Ellison and Page take the stand in San Francisco in the Google Oracle trial. And Ikea wants to build your next TV. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, April 17th, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by Gazelle, the easy way to sell your iPhone, iPad, iPod, or Android smartphones from your home or office so you can get the latest versions. Get a risk-free quote that's good for 30 days at Gazelle.com. And by GoToMeeting with HD Faces. Meet easily with colleagues even when traveling or working remotely. For your free 30-day trial, visit GoToMeeting.com, promo code TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And joining us again for the first time in a while, Nilay Patel, managing editor at The Verge. Welcome back to the show, Nilay.
Hey, guys. It's good to be back.
It's great to have you back. I know you guys have been busy just kicking ass all over the place at The Verge.
Yeah. So it's gross, actually.
And also doing a good job on the tech news. Totally two separate things there. Let's get into some tech news today. We've got the World Series of Intellectual Property trials to get to in a little bit. Nilay, I know you got lots to say about that. But before we get to that, let's start off with Microsoft announcing how many different versions of Windows 8 there will be.
Well, the first big news is it has a name. It's called Windows 8. Because everyone's calling Windows 8. That's official now.
That wasn't official
It wasn't
before.
official until yesterday's post, apparently. It's Windows 8. That's the official product for the x86 version. And then there's Windows 8, Windows 8 Pro. These are x86. And then what was formerly known as Windows on ARM or WOA is now Windows RT.
What does the RT stand for?
Retweet.
People are thinking it's runtime. I'm just going to call it.
People are speculating.
Well, it's supposed to be runtime, but some people, I've read conflicting things about this.
There's a Windows dev thing, RT.
It's called WinRT.
That stands for runtime.
And Windows on ARM is built on Windows RT, so whatever. I'm going to call it Arty, like the name.
I like that.
Like Bob.
Sure.
You know?
Like
Windows
from
Arty.
Warehouse 13.
Yes.
Arty.
Like that. And Microsoft put up this giant feature chart to show you what you get in the different versions. Now, Windows 8 is going to be your basic version. Windows 8 Pro has some of your enterprise stuff if you want to have like encryption, virtualization, PC management, and domain stuff. And then Windows RT, they show that it does come with those 4 apps for Office. There's no Office built into the other versions of Windows 8. You're going to have to buy them separately. On top of that, there's no Windows Media Player on RT. But I guess you shouldn't panic because there's some other Metro apps for that already.
Yeah, well, as we've talked about before, Windows 8 for ARM, which is now Windows RT, doesn't have the full desktop. It has a limited desktop that's available for you. You can't install apps for it. And in the Metro interface, there is video and music tiles already that don't use the Windows Media Player. So I guess it makes sense to not worry about putting that code in there. Yeah, no reason for it.
The thing is, they put that in that chart. That's going to make people confused right away. And then there's on top of that, there's Windows Media Center gets the boot. That used to be like in every version of Windows. Now it's only an economical media pack add-on to Windows 8 Pro. It sounds like you have to buy it from the App Store or something to get this because it used to be in every version of Windows 7. Now it's limited to Windows 8 Pro if you buy it. So that's their DVR offering that a lot of people like me like. Well, some people like.
I think the number on that is that like 6% of users use Media Center. So I think Microsoft is just thinking we can take it out. The 6% of people that want it, they can just pay for it.
And Microsoft also confirmed that you won't be able to buy Windows RT. You can't install it on your own tablets. It's going to come pre-installed. So you're not going to – a lot of people are already kicking around the name. They're like, oh, it's a stupid name. How will people find this? It's like you're never going to see that necessarily. When you buy the tablet, it'll be Windows over here and it'll be Windows over there. So the question is, why would people get x86 tablets over the ARM version? That's just going to go back and forth.
Only 3 versions? Well, there's also, instead of starter versions, they have foreign language versions.
Yes.
But really,
it's simplified.
4 versions if you really stretch it.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of that confusion.
Windows Pro, Windows RT, and Windows Enterprise.
There's no Ultimate or Basic or Starter Edition or CE or whatever. It's just there's 3 versions.
All right. I'm cool with that.
I know it's supposed to stand for runtime, but I prefer real tablet-y.
I like it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Took me this entire conversation to come up with that.
In fact, that's all I'm going to call it from now
But
on.
that's what happened.
You know what I think is interesting is that Microsoft they're pulling this apart a little more than at the beginning of all this, right? Because they started out with Windows 8, we'll run an ARM. It's no compromises. You've got all of Windows, and you've got this new experience in Metro. And then they're like, well, we're going to limit the desktop in Windows 8 on ARM to just Office. And now they're saying, well, we're not even going to call this Windows 8 anymore. It's called Windows RT. It's a totally different product. So they can go back to saying Windows 8 is no compromise because on Intel it's no compromise, while they say, well, we've got this new experience on the tablet. Oh, and you still get Office if you need it. I think that's like very clever, right? I mean, it's semantic juggling in a way, but it's still very clever because it allows them to preserve the no compromise kind of marketing for the Intel stuff while saying that Windows RT is this new thing. That said, I think they should have just called it Metro. On the tablet, it should have been Windows 8. It's a regular thing. It comes with Metro, our new thing. And then on the tablet, it's called Metro. And it's awesome and it's new. And everybody, I think, get a huge burst of goodwill from new things, right? And I think if you said, this is Microsoft's new tablet platform. It's called Metro. It has Office if you need it. But then all the new cool stuff that is Metro, and let's focus on how cool it is. And I just don't know why they didn't go all the way with it.
Yeah, it does seem like a half measure when you explain it like that, because Windows RT makes it easy to explain to the folks who might be confused that Windows is different than the Windows that they have on their desktop. That is an ARM version of Windows, but they don't need to know about ARM. It's a different Windows. So, yeah, why not call it Metro, which is a catchier name? It's a really good point.
Charlie Kindle, who was on the Windows Phone team, I think he just left earlier this year or late last year. He actually tweeted at me last night when I asked, why didn't they call it Metro? And he tweeted at me, Steve Ballmer makes every naming decision at Microsoft. He forced the Windows Phone name, and he was like, I guarantee you this is the hand of Ballmer. So,
the hand of Ballmer.
It's better than Zune. I still think it's better than Zune.
It's like a super villain fighting the hand of Ballmer. Speaking of supervillains, we had a trial of two Larrys. As Judge Alsop calls it, the World Series of IP cases. Google versus Oracle went to opening remarks yesterday, continues today, and Oracle opened with 91 slides. So instead of a World Series, it felt more like cricket.
Wow. There we go.
All the code copying and gaming emails that are the emails we've mentioned were featured. Damning emails, not gaming emails. I'm reading my notes. The arguments ran as expected. Oracle says Google ripped off our copyrights. Google says, no, we didn't. It was open source, and we respected open source. Larry Page of Google was the first witness appearing via recorded video from his deposition back in August. The questioning focused on a presentation done in Google called Must Take License from Sun. And they wanted to know, was this run by Andy Rubin? There's an email that seemed to indicate that it had been. They also talked a lot about, is Java a platform? And Page didn't really want to answer that. He said platform is a term that is hazy in my mind. He said many people might consider it a platform. He said it's both a language and a platform when they finally got him to admit something about it being a platform. Then he was followed by Larry Ellison, who took the witness stand in person and was asked whether or not it is expensive to develop APIs. And Larry Ellison, being somewhat of a performer, sighed and said, arguably, it's one of the most difficult things we do at Oracle. Trying to make it sound like they sink significant amount of money, which they probably do, in developing these APIs. They discussed licensing and stated Google was the only company he knew not taking a license, even a free license, for the Java language. They then cross-examined him, asked him, is the Java language free? Ellison said, I don't know. Kind of an evasive answer. They asked him if, on the stand, if the primary factor in acquiring Sun was the smartphone business, getting into the smartphone business. Ellison said no, unequivocally. Then they played his deposition, where they asked him if Oracle acquired Java because of interest in smartphone businesses and competing with Apple, and Ellison said yes on both points. And of course, Ellison said, well, you asked me if it was the primary factor. It wasn't the primary factor that we bought Sun. Then they played a video of June 2009 Java 1 where Ellison praised Sun, saying it had done a fantastic job in opening up Java and giving it to the world. So Google's trying to make it look like Sun open-sourced Java and Oracle is trying to close it back down again. Nilay, I know you've followed this pretty closely. How is it that an open-source operating system, or in this case a programming language, needs a license If it's open source, can't Google just take it and do whatever it wants as long as it puts its code back out under the GPL?
Well, yes and no. So this is like the battle of two terrifically weak arguments. Both sides, they're making fairly bad arguments, right? So Oracle's argument is, Sun, they provided this language to the world, but then they held back the parts of the license that you need to develop on mobile. And Sun did this, not Oracle. Sun did this. And Sun actually was in lots of fights with various companies. They're in a fight with Apache, a fight with lots of other people over how to kind of best license Java for mobile, right? And that persisted throughout the Oracle days as well, right? So that's a bad argument for Sun and in some ways for Google, right? Because they're saying it's free, but then the APIs aren't free, and this other part aren't free, and it doesn't really matter because Google claims they developed it all in the clean room and they didn't use it anyway, so they don't need it. So it's like they've got this hazy set of weak arguments. And on the other side, you have Google saying, well, we didn't need a license anyway, and even if we did, they promised us it was free, so we just relied on their promise, and it's fine. And then they have tons and tons of emails saying, well, we definitely need a license for this, otherwise we're going to get in all kinds of trouble. So neither side is making what I would classify as terrifically strong arguments. And the judge, Judge Alsup is a famously crotchety judge. And he is basically, the reason he's calling it the World Series is because he's been pushing these sides to settle this for so long. And the damages at issue, just from the outset, Oracle's like, well, this is going to cost $200 billion if Google loses. And it's been knocked all the way down to $25 million. I've asked around and I'm like, why aren't they just selling? Google could pay this money tomorrow, right? And they just won't. And I don't know why they won't pay it. I don't know why Oracle won't accept the money. The judge has sounded confused about this for a long time too. The actual amount of infringement at issue is very small. And so all of this, these are all theatrics now. It's all a lot of, well, we have these bad arguments and we're just going to make them as huge as possible. We're going to make them seem like they're they're these machinations of conspiracy on both sides, and then the jury will just pick who's more evil. And it's kind of like, there's this very cliche kind of lawyer saying, if you don't have the facts, you pound on the law. If you don't have the law, you pound on the facts. If you don't have either, you just pound on the table. And that's what's happening in this case.
Both sides are just pounding on the table. Both sides.
And it's sad. I mean, this is one of those cases, 70-80% of cases settle, but just statistically in the justice system. This is one of those cases that should have settled. And I think if not for just kind of the politics of the Valley, kind of the Google, Oracle, and then between Ellison and Jobs, that sort of Oracle-Apple relationship, I think it should have settled, because I don't think it's good for Java, and I don't think it's good for Android for either side to necessarily win here. I think this should be more of a, well, we definitely were inspired by you. We should have a deal. We should move forward. We should take the great kind of weight and momentum that was behind Java, take those developers and bring them to Android, and everyone's happy. But we'll see how it goes. Neither side seems particularly willing to give up.
Oracle, if they win, one of the ways they could win is to have the judge agree that APIs are copyrightable, and that therefore Google is violating a copyright here. And we had a couple of developers write in and say, if the courts decide APIs are copyrightable, Robert Osborne writes, this will impact few developers other than Android developers, and it probably won't impact them either. Google will just have to license Java from Oracle like they should have in the first place. And Andy, the test engineer, sort of echoed that, saying the reason Windows machines and even my old Palm Trio could run programs using Java APIs is because the programs run in Java Virtual Machine, which is supplied by Oracle for free. If Google had only given Oracle proper credit for their work, this issue may have been avoided. The thing was, Google decided to use Dalvik and create their own runtime environment rather than use the Sun-supplied Java Virtual Machine. But we were talking yesterday that some experts were claiming if Oracle wins and APIs become copyrightable, that any developer in Java might have to at least reissue their license. Does that sound right to you, or do you agree with these developers who are saying, no, we won't. We already pay for that?
Well, it depends on what kind of Java developer you are, right? I mean, if you're just a traditional Java developer, you're not necessarily entering into a formal license agreement with Oracle, right? You're just kind of downloading the open source stuff, you're agreeing to GPL, and you're kind of moving on with your life. And the GPL should at least theoretically, provide you with a shield of protection around the patent stuff. Google would have to get relicensed, and potentially other platform vendors that rely on Java would have to relicense their products with Oracle, and then maybe kind of pass that new license on to developers. That's all like fairly wonky. I mean, what's most interesting to me about our API's copyrightable thing is that the judge has asked that. That's a legal question, right? The judge makes that decision, not the jury. So the judge has asked that the case proceed while the parties brief on like the legal issue. So we could go deep into this trial, and then the judge could decide, well, it doesn't matter anyway. Or we could go deep in the trial, and the judge could say, well, this is the core issue now, and they are copyrightable, and now you have to decide whether Google's right or wrong. So we kind of won't even know what the jury is deciding until a little bit later, until the parties fully brief the judge on this stuff. And that just happened, I want to say on Friday. I think we covered the briefs, and that's a big deal, right? Because the arguments are, well, if the APIs are copyrightable, that's like saying, well, you can have all the letters, but you can't have nouns, or you can't have verbs. And that, that's, again, it's the vagaries of licensing. You can say, well, this is all free, but I'm keeping all the good parts, and you have to pay me for the good parts, which is totally fair. But, it's this battle of these kind of fantastically weak arguments, which is the judge has to decide whether you can write a language and keep the nouns, and Google has to argue, nobody ever told us we could have the nouns, but we just assumed that a language included the nouns. And it's like, okay, you guys should have just talked to each other a little bit more closely and figured it out.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's coming down to a clash of personalities.
Yeah. More
than anything.
There's a reporter, Larry Page, was on the stand today, and the reporter said Larry Page just keeps smiling at the jury with this creepy smile. And that could be it. I mean, that literally, it could come down to the jury deciding that Larry Ellison is less of a creep than Larry Page. And that could be the end of it,
Wouldn't have guessed that.
Larry Page is trying to be social, right? That's his whole initiative. Just smile. Just keep smiling. No, I don't know if that's going to work.
Search plus your world. It's great.
I have your Google Plus account. Every one of you.
Yeah, and Ellison's like, everyone gets a ride on the yacht.
I'm voting for Yacht Guy. All right, let's move off of the World Series of IP trials to something a little more fun. Pebble. If you haven't heard about that, it's an e-ink watch Kickstarter project that has now broken the record for funding by going past the $3.3 million that Double Fine raised from over 23,000 backers. In fact, let's take a look at it right now and find out. Toteboard, Jerry Lewis style, Kickstarter.com says that Pebble is at 3.810025 million.
Wow.
So it's gone up $400,000 since 10 a.m. this morning.
A lot of people, I think, say, well, wait a second. The Kickstarter project was only asking for $100,000.
Yes.
Why does it go so far over $100,000? And it's because Kickstarter projects have incentives. It's not just goodwill, although obviously this is a big part of it. People want wearable technology that's cool, but it's also because if you pledge a certain amount of money, then you get one of the first run watches type of a
for
thing.
$99 you get one jet black Pebble watch.
So someone like me who says, wow, they already have $4 million and they only needed a tiny fraction of that, I can still jump in because there's 30 days left and get that cool watch before a lot of other people do. So
I kept trying not to buy this morning because I don't really need a watch. It's $125 because I want it in red. Okay, so and they added since they made their pledges really early, and April 12th they added in more water resistant technology in this, so you can go swimming in this thing. So that means you don't really have to take it off. It's got a battery life of like 7 days, and one of the reasons I don't ever wear a watch is I keep forgetting to replace the batteries on my old watches. So I keep staring at this thing, and the fact that it pairs with Android and iOS devices, like there's a whole bunch of things that I loved as a kid, my PDA watches or my Spot watch or whatever silly thing I had. This thing looks like it's going to work, but I just can't do it yet. I got to wait a day.
Well, this is also why Kickstarter projects continue to delight the public, and we keep getting Kickstarter projects that it's like, okay, now this is the new Kickstarter record. Okay, now this one's the new Kickstarter record, because individual people or smaller companies are making things that we wish the larger companies would make, and they're not. This is the coolest watch I've seen yet.
These guys are from. I mean, they made the Impulse watch. I mean, these guys are a watch company. they're just funding themselves in a different way.
Right.
So I hate to rain on the parade, but I'm like very concerned that this watch is one generation of Bluetooth behind, right? Because it's Bluetooth 2.1, I think.
That's right.
And all the new stuff, like the 4S and a bunch of Android phones have Bluetooth 4, which enables like lower power modes and enables kind of more seamless syncing, kind of a lot of background stuff, the Bluetooth Smart stuff. And it's like I was kind of waiting on that. I mean, this is looking really exciting, and there's just a worry to me that they jumped the gun on Bluetooth 2, and they maybe should have gone to 4, but I'm like a huge nerd, and like I worry about super pedantic things like that. But I mean, I definitely want one. I mean, we're definitely going to get like 5 in the office. I'm going to try to take one.
Do you think Microsoft is really upset that the Spot Watch could never catch on? And
just like I guess Ellison would be upset about network computing not taking off when he thought it was a good idea. I mean, a lot of the stuff that was ahead of their times, like, I mean, Microsoft had the tablet PC. That worked out pretty messy.
Yeah. It just over and over and over
ahead.
again. I think Kickstarter is fascinating though, and I'm waiting for and you brought up a good point, Nilay. These are guys who know how to make watches. They're not like a small startup that are making their first watch. I think it'll be interesting to see other industries catch on to that and say, oh, well, maybe instead of a round of funding or stock, we go to Kickstarter. Or what if entertainers start going that? One of the articles I read today suggested, what if Lady Gaga went on and just said, here's my next album is going to be done on Kickstarter, and I'm not going to use a label.
Right. Give me $1. And she's got 3 million Twitter followers.
Yeah, $3 million.
A small fraction of people.
Platinum selling record without it ever even being recorded yet.
Right.
Yeah. So it is really fascinating stuff. If you have given all your money to Kickstarter, though, you might want to take a look at our next sponsor. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Gazelle. If you want those new gadgets, if you want the new iPad or the latest iPhone or Android or a smartwatch, sell your old gadgets to get the money together. Sell your used iPhone, your iPad, your iPod, your Mac, or your smartphone to Gazelle and get some cash to trade up. Go to Gazelle.com, get a risk-free quote. Your quote's good for 30 days. So do it today because the quote lasts for a long time, but the values don't go up over time. Values for things go down over time. Go to GAZELLE.com. See what your gadget's worth. Then, once you got your quote, mail it to Gazelle for free. They pay for the shipping. You'll get paid fast by either check, PayPal, Amazon gift card. Get 5% or more if you use that Amazon gift card. It's a great way to get cash toward those latest gadgets. I've done it a lot this summer. I've cleared out a bunch of gadgets and sold them on Gazelle. Now, the quotes vary by model, so make sure you put all that stuff in accurately and assess the condition accurately. But remember, Gazelle will revise your offer higher if the product's actually in better condition than you stated. So just try to be as accurate as possible. And Gazelle will help you feel better about your gadget habits. You can upgrade to the new gadgets. Know your other gadgets are going to go be recycled, reused, find a new home. Remember, just like when you drive your car off the lot, your gadgets lose their value over time. So go to Gazelle.com, get the best offer, take a minute, find out what your gadget is worth. Do it now, because the sooner you do, the more money your gadgets will be worth. Visit Gazelle.com for your risk-free quote today, and we thank Gazelle for their support of Tech News Today. On to Hulu, doing something that's more the province of the old-fashioned television networks and Upfront.
Yeah, so Upfront, if you're not familiar with them, is where networks will pitch advertisers on new programming that's coming down the pipe. This is usually cable channels, networks do stuff like this. Who's going to be participating this Thursday? Because they are getting into the original programming game. In fact, they're already in it. If you're a Hulu Plus subscriber, you've probably seen they do a lot of promotion of a documentary called A Day in the Life. That's from documentarian Morgan Spurlock. They've also got an original series called Battleground. It's about a Senate campaign, premiered in February. So they're already working up to something that we're now starting to associate Netflix with. But of course, Hulu is different because with Netflix, you have a subscription model that you got to pay for any entry into Netflix. With something like Hulu, it's ad supported. Hulu Plus, if you want to
also runs ads,
but you get more content. But you don't have to pay for Hulu. If you go to Hulu.com right now, you can watch a lot of stuff that's completely free. Some of their original programming will be in that category. Now, Ad Age Digital Conference is going on in New York right now. CEO Jason Kilar has some good news as far as revenue goes, and plus some kind of interesting incentives for advertisers. Hulu's 5 years old. They have 2 million subscribers. to Hulu Plus up in Q1 of this year.
So people are actually paying for it.
Absolutely.
I'm a little,
it's $8 a month.
I'm not shocked, but
Well, I'm one of those people because I like to watch it on my Roku, and I got to do Hulu Plus in order to get it on the big screen via my Roku app. But this is not only 2 million subscribers, but it's up from just 1.5 million at the end of 2011. So we're not even halfway into the year, and they're looking to double their subscribers. Revenue from Hulu Plus is expected to make up over half of Hulu's total rev this year. By the end of the year, revenue was $420 million in 2011, which was 60% up from $263 million in 2010. So they're climbing a fraction of what Netflix is making in just a quarter, which is what Hulu is making in the course of a year. But the trend is going in the right direction. Now, Jason Kilar announced advertisers are only going to be charged, because again, he wants to convince them to be advertising on some of their new programming, only going to be charged if someone watches a complete commercial. Okay, you might think, well, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, advertisers only pay
they
for
want
a
to make
commercial
sure that you actually
saw
watched
all the way
it.
through. Yeah.
But the thing is I'm a pretty consistent Hulu user, and you can't fast forward through those advertisements. You can look away. You can open another
They
tab.
will not be charged if you look away.
But I think that this is like a classic case of somebody saying to an advertiser, listen, we're going to do something for you.
Yeah.
And it's really going to be worth your while more than you think. And
There's
I,
probably
as
people,
a subscriber, say, no, I'm forced to sit through those.
There's probably people who start a show, there's an advertisement, they decide, nah, I don't want to watch that show after all, and they kick out. That would be the time when the ad doesn't complete.
But ads will run several times through a show.
There's Hulu Ad Swap, where they give you the choice to change out ads. So maybe that would be the case where you're like, I'm not watching this Allstate commercial for the 80th time. I'm going to skip this other one.
Before you were counting all 3 ads, like even the 2 you didn't.
Yeah, they were counting starts. I know.
Yeah.
How awesome was that for Hulu's bottom line?
That's been great. You know, it's funny. Those numbers are good, but like Netflix has like 21 million paying subscribers, right?
Yeah.
So Hulu Plus is like a tenth as big as Netflix, just under a tenth. So they've got a long way to go before they've kind of cracked into what Netflix is. I mean, I think there's just a network effect here. If everybody's on Netflix, the people who make the original series, you know, they want to sell out and make money, but they also want to go to where people can see their work. And I think, you know, Netflix just has that audience right now, and they have that cachet of, well, people have it. Why don't you put it where all the people are anyway? And Hulu has to convince everyone that they should pay for Hulu Plus beyond just getting it on a Roku. I mean, that's like pretty much the only reason I pay for Hulu Plus is I want to use it on a device. Whereas I pay for Netflix because it's like I want free movies, you know, or free. And Netflix has done this great job of convincing me that paying for Netflix means free movies, which is maybe the best marketing ever.
Well, it certainly means ad-free movies, which is something that Hulu can't give us. They do have ad swap. If you hate an ad, if you just hate that chipmunk ad or whatever it is, you know, the Verizon girl, she's particularly of annoyance to me, although I heard she's changing her outfit. So
that's
maybe
T-Mobile.
I'll hate her
T-Mobile
a little
girls.
T-Mobile.
The ads don't work, clearly.
Yeah, exactly. See, I don't pay enough attention. I look away. I look away.
It's the hot chick from T-Mobile. Trust me, I know.
Okay.
Carly.
Yeah. See,
we
Her
ran
name is Carly.
on her in 2 days.
Different strokes, I guess. They also have an ad select feature where you can choose the kind of ads you want to see. Like if you're like a Diet Coke person, then advertisers can more directly target you based on the programming that you're watching. That's the sort of thing that advertisers love. None of us care about. I mean, I would much rather pay a little bit more and get no ads at all.
I would rather pay more and get no ads at all. But if they're going to show me ads, I do want ads that I care about rather than having, you know, a bunch of ads for things I would never buy or be interested in.
But that I don't even think we can all agree on that either. I would rather just have ads I don't care about because I don't want to get sucked into anything.
I would just hope that all these numbers and all the money they're making, all the subscribers, that they could just somehow convince the people who make all the content to allow all the content to be available on Plus and on the web. That weird disconnect that I'll get 30 Rock.
Can't watch 30
Rock.
Rock.
Web only. Why is that web only? I don't know, because maybe they didn't believe there was going to be enough subscribers or not. But if they can just renegotiate that stuff and also keep everything...
Well, that's just their owners. Their owners are like, we actually don't want you to watch these shows on the web. We are only putting them on the web as a way to trick you into watching them on television. And whatever way we think is the best way to trick you into watching them on television, we'll do it. If it makes it more convenient for you to watch them on the web, we're actually not going to do it. I mean, Hulu is against itself. That's the biggest problem.
Speaking of owners, it's like all of these numbers look good in theory, even though, Nilay, you're right, it's a tiny fraction of what Netflix is pulling in. But Hulu's owners were trying to get rid of Hulu last year.
Right.
And they might do it again. I mean, Hulu hasn't proven itself enough so that you feel like everyone running the show there is really happy with it and feels like they don't have to do separate deals with cable networks to get their content on tablets and mobile devices.
Well, you're going to watch Hulu on your internet-connected Ikea television.
Oh, boy.
Uppleva, the Swedish word for experience, is the name of a new integrated product coming from IKEA. It combines an LED TV, a sound system, wireless bass speakers, an internet connection, CD, DVD, and Blu-ray players, 2 USB ports, 4 HDMI ports in one self-assembly piece. You don't have to assemble the television, but you have to assemble the cabinet around it. The electronics are made by Chinese manufacturer TCL. They give you one remote so you can control everything with, less clutter. And they'll sell it with different sizes of the television from 24 inches on up to 46 inches, range of colors including gray, black, and blue. First coming to Sweden, France, Poland, Germany, and Italy in June. A few more markets to launch in the second half of the year, coming to the U.S. in 2013. Available for 6,500 Swedish kroner, which is about $955 US.
So I spent about 3 hours last night in Best Buy because I'm trying to buy some really nice home theater speakers for my living room. And the more you learn, the more confusing it can be and the more daunting. And then you got all this cable management and it's a mess. Something like this, I am very tempted.
Because of the cable management,
Because
right?
of the cable management and the all-in-one and the fact that it looks nice. And IKEA understands that they don't make the most well-manufactured goods, but they make stuff that works for people. I mean, someone's first apartment, $950, done. Living room's done.
And they're claiming that they're going to stand behind this for 5 years. And if you want to, and the price. So if something changes, apparently you can get money back from it, which I think is even more impressive. The TVs are made by TCL. They're like the 6th largest manufacturer in the world when it comes to televisions. But it kind of just shows me how low margin televisions are. The real catch to this thing is that it's got cable management and you have the stuff built in. The cabinets are really cool because you can have a closed cabinet and still have your IR sensor working. Like, that's the hook to this thing. The TV itself, like, they're almost at this point. I'm a video snob when it comes to this, but even the worst HD TV is still like leaps and bounds beyond what we had like 10 years ago. So I'm just seeing this as is this what TVs are going to be? Just this extra accessory you get with your cabinet, because it's not the big thing anymore.
5 years ago, though, 2007, TVs were not the same as they are now.
Nope.
But they weren't that much different. I don't know.
Well, it was the same. I mean, they were HD. Look, this TV is going to look bad. I mean, it's not going to look good. It'll have an HD picture, but like, it'll probably you can go into a Best Buy and buy a cheap TV that has like bad black levels and poor contrast and weird colors for $400. And these things that you're saying are like, they're commodity like features, like you can store in your cables and the IR sensor works. You're going to buy this thing and bring it home and it's going to be useless because the thing that makes a TV worthwhile doesn't come with it. It doesn't come with a real content source unless you're buying this thing to watch Blu-rays, right? So you still need to plug in an antenna, which sounds insane in 2012, or you need a cable box, or you need one of 50 other kind of streaming boxes, right? You still need that Roku, and it's remote.
It does have an internet connection, and I read somewhere that it's going to have some sort of app thing on the television, but I'm a little skeptical.
You know who's a really great app developer is IKEA and TCL.
Yeah, no, they're my favorites.
High-end interfaces and responsive systems. It's definitely TCL.
You do have to build the apps yourself, but with an Allen wrench.
If you don't come with all the parts, right?
Yeah.
There's, it's great. It's good to see more competition in the space, but until somebody fundamentally rethinks the TV experience, you're exactly right. It's more commodities on top of commodities.
Finally, Reuters reports that 4 major European carriers are dissatisfied with the Nokia Lumia line of phones. They talked to them sort of off the record, on the record. They're not saying who they were. But the executives they talked to called the Lumia line overpriced, lacking innovation, glitchy, mostly because of the battery and the camera problems, and inadequately supported. One executive was actually quoted as saying, "No one comes into the store and asks for a Windows phone. Nokia have given themselves a double challenge to restore their credibility in terms of making hardware smartphones and succeed with the Microsoft Windows operating system, which lags in the market." Nokia was feeling pretty excited about the sales of the Lumia phones out of the gate until this, I would assume.
Is there a lot of like huge marketing blitz for this? I mean, I know I'm paying attention to it because I'm in this circle, but do normal people see giant ads on television for Nokia products and Windows Phone?
I saw an ad for Internet Explorer.
Yeah, I did. I've seen that too,
night.
and to the cloud, all that stuff for actual Microsoft Windows. But I don't see a whole lot of ads for the Windows Phone experience, whatever the heck that is. I mean, it's like it's tiles. I get it, but I mean, the idea that nobody's coming into a store and yelling, "I want a Windows Phone," it's not that surprising because
wait. Who goes into any store and yells they want anything?
iPhone people.
Like no, they don't. Even the biggest, craziest iPhone fanboy doesn't walk into a store and start screaming.
Well, just the first one in line on release day. Yeah,
it's Vincent from Slash
It was
year.
creative dramatization of the idea that people want a Windows Phone. I don't know. I mean, there was certainly a media blitz going on a couple weeks ago when they had a concert in Times Square and they had these little blue booths.
with Nicki
The time
Minaj, who just
machine,
quit
too.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. It's throwing money at something that's maybe poorly thought out, but it's not for lack of trying.
Well,
No, it kind of is though, right? They had a concert. And they did like one day of launch stuff. They launched the phone on Easter, and then it's been like dead silence ever since. And even in the States, it's AT&T saying this is going to be our biggest launch ever. Wink, wink. We mean bigger than the iPhone. And there's no ads, as far as I can tell. I mean, we were joking. We ran the new T-Mobile ad today. If AT&T had a hot new Lumia ad, I would have put it up, but they haven't sent it to us. I haven't seen it. Nokia, they promised us months ago that their return to the United States, Nokia's return to the United States was called, they officially named it Operation Rolling Thunder, which is amazing.
that's crazy.
As far as I know, that means they put out a blue and a white phone, and we're like patiently waiting for the red one, and that'll be cool.
Has Stephen Elop booked a carrier where you can announce mission accomplished yet?
Yeah, exactly. That would be amazing, by the way. The Canadian CEO of a Finnish company, an American aircraft carrier. It's not for lack of trying in the sense that they want to try, but they have to spend the money. And I really think, and I'm probably going to get crucified for this, that the Lumia 900, that they know that isn't necessarily the phone that they can go head-to-head with the flagship devices with. Right, it's the phone that they kind of like had to put out because they need a product in the market to begin this strategy, and in many ways, the Lumia 800 as well. But it's behind on all kinds of specs. It's single core. It has a lower resolution screen. The software is still kind of like it. In many ways, not completely there in terms of feature for feature. The apps aren't there. I think they have a product that needs to be out. And the next version, Apollo, I think is the code name. I think that's where you're going to see the huge investment in marketing. And I think they're just kind of afraid to say it. Like, we need a product out. We believe in the product. We believe in the strategy. We're building momentum. We're going to come head-to-head against Apple and Android next year.
Best feature of the 900 is the price, $99.
Right, and there's a reason why, because the hardware's low end, right? It's a low-end Android phone. And there's lots of phones that match those specs. Definitely not on the design side. It's a beautiful phone. It has a really nice display. But there's a lot of phones that kind of match the core specs, processor, resolution, all that, LTE radio. $99 in Verizon, you can go get one. Yeah. So they've got a long way to go.
And, I think it's telling that there was a report out today that Verizon and AT&T both kind of warning that first quarter results are going to be down since the iPhone sales are starting to tail off. And Verizon doesn't expect a decline. They just expect a small rise. AT&T expects a slowing rise. Sprint will probably see a decline in postpaid subscribers. But none of them are looking at Android at picking up sales in the first quarter, much less looking at any kind of Windows phone as doing that either. I mean, that's the landscape is when did the iPhone get released? That's when we'll have the pinnacle of our sales, and then it tails off from there. Let's take a look at the news fuse. Google infrastructure bigwig Urs Holzleit gave a talk at the Open Network Summit where he talked about Google overhauling its internal network by moving to open source OpenFlow for its internal network. He confirmed that the company is designing and manufacturing its own networking equipment. It's pretty rare for Google to talk about its network in public. According to an Arbor network study, if Google's network was an ISP, it would be the second largest one in the whole world.
We talked a little bit yesterday about Google's privacy-related $25,000 fine, and it's not enough for some. The Electronic Privacy Center, acronym EPIC, is asking U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder to investigate Google's collection of data over Wi-Fi. EPIC called the FCC investigation inadequate and wants the government to determine if Google ran afoul of federal wiretapping laws.
Forget Google and forget those Google glasses, because Oakley CEO Colin Baden says that the company has been working for the past 15 years on wearable technology. Baden also says he expects sports to be the first application where augmented reality glasses will take off. The company is working on both standalone and tethered AR glasses.
Can I ask a totally hijacking question?
Yes.
Sure.
Do any of you get the crazy Oakley spam that I get?
No. You get Oakley spam?
Not from Oakley, but the entire Verge editorial team has had to develop like a very complicated set of Gmail filters to get rid of this stuff. It's all capital letters. It's all about how the Oakley CEO is in bed with the Mormons in a conspiracy to run sweatshops with Foxconn.
So it's crazy people stuff.
It's insanity.
Never seen this, but it seems more targeted to the Verge.
It sounds like a company
spam.
hazing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's funny because it's worked at sort of the subconscious level that every time I see Oakley story,
think about it.
I'm looking for like the Mormon Foxconn connection.
Great. Now they're gonna be like, hey, Nilay finally talked about us. Let's be sure to send TNT our emails too.
It's all over. I'm sorry, guys. Welcome to my hell. Continue.
All right, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. It's no longer the patent wars.
No, why? Really?
It's patent peace.
Wow.
Twitter announced its innovators patent agreement that assures its employees that patents created for Twitter will only be used for defensive purposes. Twitter says it will not use patents in an offensive manner unless it gets permission. Patents sold by Twitter still keep control with the patent creator. So if Twitter sells the patent on to somebody else, the creator still has control over it. Twitter has put the agreement up on GitHub so you can read it at your leisure.
You know, there's a lot of outs in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Twitter has the option of suing any company that sued any of its users ever without having to get permission. And that means like if any company that has a Twitter account. So they could like sue Microsoft without having to get permission. Apple has a Twitter account. They could sue Apple because Apple has sued Samsung, which has a Twitter account.
It's peace.
I mean, there's a lot of outs in there. I mean,
think of happy little birdies tweeting with hearts.
Yeah.
Speaking of patent peace, actually, and speaking of Apple and Samsung, first reported by Foss Patents, Apple and Samsung representatives will meet with a magistrate judge for a settlement conference within the next 90 days. CEOs from both companies will be there, as well as their legal counsel. Could there be patent peace in our time? Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, maybe.
Definitely, maybe.
Yeah, definitely maybe. That sounds good. The Read It Later Pro app is now free and has a new name. It's called Pocket. Originally, it cost you about $3. If you already have the Read It Later Pro app, you just need to update it to get Pocket. If you got the free version, you'll have to download Pocket separately.
You know what's kind of interesting about this is part of the reason that they changed the name, they realized most of the things that people were saving were YouTube videos, not anything you read. Can't call it Watch It Later because that's already an app.
That's already a thing. Yeah.
So
there you go. All right, don't burn your wallet quite yet, NFC and Square fans. The Pew Research Center's Internet and American Life Project and Elon University's Imagining the Internet Center revealed that not only do they have the longest names in the world, but that the majority of experts surveyed believe mobile phones could replace cash and credit cards both online and in stores by 2020. 65% of the non-random sample of 1,021 technology stakeholders and critics in the mobile payments industry believe smart devices will replace cash and credit cards within the decade. So you got 8 years.
Then you can burn
your
your
wallet.
wallet.
Then you can burn your wallet.
I believe credit cards are not cash. You know, credit cards are like, they're inherently virtual. Like they can be anything. They don't have to be plastic. Cash is like, it's cash. You know,
Yeah,
like,
you were saying that about the gold standard back in the 20s, Nilay.
Look,
No
I just
one will
spent a
ever
weekend
go
in
off the gold
Vegas,
standard.
man. I understand the importance of cash. Okay, it's I don't want anybody knowing what I did.
Stays there.
My fiance is literally sitting like just over the. Hi, sweetie. Love you.
Speaking of kicking them while they're down, the FCC just levied an $819,000 fine against T-Mobile because of that dress. No, a few months after the agency stopped the carrier from being acquired by AT&T. However, it sounds like T-Mobile messed up because the FCC alleges that between 2009 and 2010, T-Mobile USA violated the hearing aid compatibility order, which requires all providers to offer at least 10 handsets or 50% of their devices that support acoustic coupling, and 7 devices or 33% of all devices with inductive coupling. And they didn't.
I don't know if it's duck season or rabbit season, but it's earnings season. Intel didn't smash records like it usually did with earnings, but the company did okay. In the earnings call, CEO Paul Otellini mentioned the first Intel-powered smartphone will launch, quote, later this week. That means 3 days, so that's pretty impressive. More earnings stuff. IBM didn't wow analysts, but it did have flat sales. Revenue was on par with expectations. And then there's Yahoo, which beat expectations with the revenues of $1.08 billion and earned 1% more revenue year over year. So not staggering growth, but growth.
Crazy upside down day. Let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
Have you all seen the new Apple iPhone ads? Everybody's talking about it because it's got Samuel Jackson in one of them and Zooey Deschanel in another one. I watched them because I like both these actors. Samuel Jackson one just disappointed me, though. I wanted him to just start going off on Siri.
Because it's date night.
It seems like
right. Organic mushrooms from Arizona.
He's too nice. That's not Samuel Jackson.
I don't want to see Samuel L. Jackson making coffee and smiling.
Yeah.
I want him with a gun yelling at snakes on a plane.
Siri, what am I beset on all sides by?
I will say the Hot Spot Show line is pretty good. But I guarantee you that Siri was just like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. I'm turning your phone off because I don't work very well.
He does have a lovely home.
No, Mr. Jackson, I do not know what 3 little Fonzies are.
Siri, what does Marcellus Wallace look like?
Oh, God. Our comments were such a disaster today when we ran those ads.
Sure.
So out of control.
I did like the Zooey Deschanel one, but I think it's just because I like Zooey Deschanel. I think she's cute.
She's
again,
adorable.
Yeah.
Huge arguments both among the Verge staff and in the comments about these ads.
Yeah.
Because of Zoe D.
It's all
the thing
about
is, you can't. Do you ever play this game where you watch one of these Siri ads and you try to do it?
Yes.
And it just doesn't do any of those things. It's I did a web search for you. And it's thanks, Siri, for doing this thing that anything can do. You're super smart.
You are not a celebrity. I cannot answer your question.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's take a quick break and thank our other sponsor for today's show, GoToMeeting by Citrix. With colleagues working from home or traveling for business, getting everyone together in one place is pretty much nigh on impossible. We have the solution, GoToMeeting with HD Faces. Now you can participate in meetings while on the go using the built-in camera on your iPod or your laptop. GoToMeeting lets team members meet wherever they are. All you need is an internet connection, and everybody's literally on the same page because it's up on the screen in seconds. It's easy for you, easy for your attendees. Makes conference calls more effective because you can see people's expressions when you're talking about stuff. You can read their body language. You build that connection with attendees that enhances communication. You can use GoToMeeting for product collaboration sessions, planning meetings, weekly status updates, whatever you want, whatever you need face-to-face reactions for, all from wherever you are. Start hosting your own face-to-face online meetings today with GoToMeeting. My listeners can try it free for 30 days. GoToMeeting 12.1. Collaborate. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and enter the promo code TNT. We thank Citrix and GoToMeeting for their support of Tech News Today. Now let's check the calendar.
On this day in 1971, FTP was born.
Happy birthday,
File
FTP.
Transfer Protocol was first proposed by Abe Busan of MIT in April 71 as a means to transfer large files between disparate systems that made up ARPANET.
Who's celebrated by FTPing something today?
Not
Raise your
me.
hand.
I'm gonna when I publish TNT.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you celebrate it every day, in fact.
That's right.
You're a very loyal
I
fan.
celebrate FTP's entire catalog.
I have nothing against FTP. I just don't do it very regularly. Tomorrow, April 18th, is T-Mobile's HTC One S launch party. It's going to be a rager. Also tomorrow is Spotify's press briefing because they can't stop announcing things. Verizon's going to activate 27 more LTE cities on Thursday, including Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Peoria, Illinois, and what's the third one I'm going to choose? Pierre, South Dakota.
Congratulations, Pierre, South Dakota.
Congratulations to you all. And Halo
That's
4.
like 2/3 of America.
Yeah, that's what the press release said. They're covering 2/3 of America.
Where's the Petaluma thing?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not included there.
We are the 33%.
No kidding.
Occupy LTE.
Finally, Halo 4 is coming to the Xbox 360 on November 6th. You got a little while.
All right, let's check what's incoming.
Incoming message.
We actually have a couple of pieces of feedback here about the Tupac hologram we were talking about yesterday. First of all, it's not a hologram. I was most impressed with the CGI work, but we got a nice email from James in Long Beach pointing out that what they're doing is called a Pepper's Ghost gag. It was actually invented in the 1800s. He's got a full email we'll have in our show notes about it, but essentially the big problem for Coachella was scaling it up to the size of people and dealing with the outdoor conditions. That was the hard part of getting that image up. And then we got a voicemail, actually it's a video mail, explaining about some of the negotiations to be able to use Tupac's image.
Kian here from Vancouver. I was watching your show yesterday, and on the Randomizer, you guys talked about the Tupac hologram at Coachella. And Sarah mentioned that it might possibly be in bad taste because they're making money off of him, and his question was his family involved in the decision making process? And I just want to make a couple of notes on it. Actually, Dr. Dre came up with this idea himself, and he went and found a company in Hollywood, AV Concepts, I believe it is, to go do this, to make this possible. So he came up with the idea, and he was a close peer of Tupac. They worked together in the early '90s, and they were on the same record label and made music together. And
California
also,
Love.
Dr. Dre called Tupac's mother with this idea, and she was actually really excited about it and wanted to do it. A donation was made to Tupac's foundation. And as well, I just wanted to note that Tupac wasn't one of the headliners. It was Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. And he was brought on as a special guest that nobody expected. So it was more of a tribute than it was selling.
Is he convincing you, Sarah?
Actually, a lot of people expected it because the news broke several days before the show. Not that I don't appreciate this, and I don't think I've suggested, and if I did, I spoke out of turn, that the family wasn't somehow compensated or asked to make sure it's okay. I still think, and I stand by this, you can call me a hater if you want, that it is weird to have a deceased person up on stage, whether they're headlining or not, saying stuff that they never actually said while they were alive.
I thought it was interesting, all of the permutations they went through to get permissions and everything. But yeah, I see what you're saying, for sure. I just think it's amazing that they can even do that. That's even possible to make that performance.
Technically very cool.
Yeah. And not just the hologram, but the editing and the CGI and making it look like he was singing a song that he never actually performed in public. All of that sort of stuff. You know who's not a hologram or even a Pepper's Ghost is Nilay Patel. Thank you for joining us today, Nilay. As always, been too long. You're always welcome back on the show anytime you got time. I know you're a busy man. And tell some of the folks some of the stuff that's been keeping you busy over there at The Verge.
We're building out. We're hiring like crazy. You should go to theverge.com/jobs if you want to join our team. And our staff will double this year. We're going to do a lot more original reporting. We're going to do a lot more crazy features. And we're just going to keep growing as fast as we can. It's been a fun ride these past 6 months. And so thanks to you guys for supporting us and being fans. And thanks to everybody for coming to the site and reading.
Theverge.com/jobs. All right. I'm there.
Bye,
thanks,
Tom.
everybody, for watching or listening and submitting at our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. 6,000 people in there letting us know what kind of stuff they want to see on our show every day. Twit.tv/TNT is our website. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call. Our phone number is 260-TNT-SHOW. Danny Sullivan from Search Engine Land joins us tomorrow. We'll see you then.